Hey guys, Crystal Thompson here with Unity Stamp Company. I have this really cool project. We are card making quilting style by using some color blocking and one stamp. So be sure to stick around to see what we're using and how we're making this. Alright guys, let's get to this tutorial. We are going to be using the Include Yourself in Beauty. I love this stamp, so I know it's an oldie but a goodie. We are using the beautiful flowers. It has a gorgeous array of detail to it. And then we're using the next time you think of beautiful things, don't forget to include yourself. So it's an encouraging card as we await spring. Our color combos are really fun. We have bright colors. So I'm matching my color blenders to my distress oxides. Let me show you what these are. We have spiced marmalade with picked raspberry, and then we have cricked pistachio with twisted citron. And so we're going to do some color blocking using the one stamp, 1 centimeter. You're going to need some heat embossing products and white heat embossing powder. For the cardstock, I have an A2 size, so I have my backer where this is going to place, and then we have our stamp pad that we are going to be doing the color blocking on. Then we're going to cut it up after we heat emboss it, and then we are going to go ahead and ink blend it post the whole ink blending cutting part. So we're going to remove all of our stuff, and we're going to start by stamping on that smaller piece of cardstock the beautiful flowers from Include Yourself in Beauty. You're going to need some watermark ink, and what we're going to do, I have it ready to go on my blog. We're just going to stamp the entire thing. So even if you wanted to use a background stamp, this is what would be another great way to use a background stamp. So I have my ink, my stamp, and let's get ready to roll. So I'm going to bring pad to ink to stamp, ink pad to stamp, say that 3 times, and we're just going to do different variations. So we're going to do up on the corner, and then now that we know it's fully saturated, we're going to bring to the other corner. So as you can see, we are shifting our stamp to where we need it to fill in those gaps. And if you overlay your stamp, that is okay. Okay? Now we're going to bring it into our white powder, which is, I know it's difficult to see in video, but when you're doing it at home, you'll definitely be able to see where the ink is holding on to that embossing powder. I like to do 1/2, and then we're going to bring it over. Careful not to touch where our ink is at so we don't smudge that and it grabs that powder. And then I'm going to heat set it. And I'm not going to show you the heat setting because you can't see it. But when we start ink blending, you'll definitely be able to see it pop up. Alright, so it's heat embossed. Like I said, I don't think you can see it with this white on white background, but we're going to move on to stamping our sentiments. So I have my black ink ready to go, and again, it was the to remember yourself when you're thinking about something beautiful. So think about where you're going to place this, because this is where the color blocking is. So if you are a quilter, you would totally know what I'm talking about. So color blocking, we can call this paper quilting as well. We're going to place our first stamp. We're going to surround our pieces of paper around it to create a really cool pattern, and then we're going to ink blend it. So I had stamped that in black, and I held it just to be sure that my cardstock was going to hold it because I don't have a ton of pieces. You're going to bring in your paper trimmer, and you want to kind of keep everything nice and close and be sure that this is fully dry or you will end up smudging it. So we know that this is going to fit in here. Okay, and we know that it's about 1/4 of an inch on each side. So we are going to trim that bottom part. I want that bottom part to be nice and thick. And you can pre-measure everything, but for the purpose of this video, I want to show you where we're putting everything. So this is going to be my bottom part. And you can even go ahead and write out like where things go. So there's piece 1. Okay, now for piece 2, we're going to bring this in. And again, you can bring your cardstock, and we need to make it just a little bit thinner. All right. Okay. So this is going to be that second edge. And you might need to trim just a little bit depending on how much space you leave in between. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do, about 1/4 of an inch. So when you know how much you have left on each edge, you know exactly how much you need to cut on the top if it's too big. And then for this one, we're just going to do this nice little rectangle, and I'm gonna bring it back and show you what that looks like. And so now you have this cool color blocking, and now we can begin to ink blending. So I'm gonna set that aside. I'm gonna grab a piece of cardstock and then set this aside so you don't get it completely dirty. And so think of your color variations. So for this bottom one, I'm gonna start with Spice Marmalade on one edge. And I'm just gonna make it really dark on that edge and then bring it down. And then next up, we're gonna do that picked raspberry. Okay. And bring it all the way through. Now you have these two colors, and we have a little bit of white, and you can kind of mix that just a little bit, but I don't want to lose it. And as you can see, because we did use white embossing powder, bring a dry paper towel or rag and just clean it off, and you're going to see these flowers really come to life. And that heat embossing resists that ink. So as long as you have a water-based ink, it's going to do this for you. And there you have it. Look how cool that is, right? So we're going to set that off to the side. And then we're going to bring out our other two colors. And we're going to start with Cracked Pistachio. And we're going to do this edge and then bring it towards the center. All right. And then off with that Twist of Citron. All right. And then for our last one, we're going to do a mix of both colors. Really loving this picked raspberry. So I'm going to add that just on the edge. And we're going to grab this Cracked Pistachio on this side. And blend those two. We're going to clean off the edges to reveal all of our colors. So set all this aside. Again, bring your dry paper towel or rag, whatever it is that you use. Your chamois, if you have a stamping chamois. And we're going to add foam adhesive to the back of these and begin assembling our card. All right, so I've cleaned up my pieces, right? They're ready to go. I've added a little bit of foam in the back, so we're going to start assembling our card. So to begin, we're going to start with our largest of the rectangles. And again, trying to make sure that we got a 1/4 of an inch on one side. And that's what's really going to make putting this card together one of the easiest ways. So you got that done. Then we're going to come in with our second piece. And again, I've already added my foam. Just going to remove that backing. And you don't have to use foam if you don't want to. You could just go ahead and use your tape runner and place it directly. But I really love the way that raising these color panels make the card look. So we're going to bring this up again, and just be careful before you place it down. And I'm going to try to line up my two edges right here. So very much like a quilt. And then last but not least, I have my itty bitty guy over here that goes on the top right corner. And I'm just going to flip that guy over. And as you can see, it's the same stamp, but you can't really tell it's the same stamp. And that's exactly what we were trying to achieve, just because it makes it look really fun like a quilt. So this is quilting card making, right? For our last step, I'm going to be using some translucent Nuvo drops. This is in the beautiful Jewel Drop Sea Breeze. And I thought about using glitter, but I'm like, you know what? We're just going to add a little bit of embellishment. It's going to catch the light once it's fully dry. So translucent means it's going to dry clear. You're going to be able to see through it. Whoops. And be sure that you lift, not drag, or you end up with what I just did. Okay. And guys, that does it for me. Thank you so much for joining me today. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And go on over to the Unity Stamp Company blog. I have a full tutorial and step-by-step along with products and little tips on how to create this wonderful card. So thank you again, Crystal Thompson for Unity Stamp Company. Have a lovely day.